Thank you so much for staying with us on All Angles. So there is no doubt that in some ways life has changed a lot in the last 2 years, right? We have been walking with reusable bags. When you go to the supermarket now, most of them, if you don't have your reusable bag, you have to carry your stuff out in a box. But overall, how has a plastic ban been working? We have a report from Kelisha Williams.
In 2016, Government Senator Matthew Samuda tabled a motion in Parliament to ban single-use plastic bags, straws and styrofoam. Then the announcement by then Minister with Responsibility for Environment Darren Vaz on September 17, 2018.
As of January 1st, 2019, the government will impose a ban on the import, manufacture, distribution and use of all single-use plastic carrier bags with the dimensions at and below 24 inches by 24 inches, which includes those bags commonly referred to locally as scandal bags and T-shirt bags, used primarily in the retail and wholesale sectors.
The ban did not apply to plastics used to package raw meat, sugar and other food items. However, a ban on plastic straws and the importation of styrofoam was also part of the first phase of the initiative. Mr. Vaz also made it clear that a full ban on styrofoam was coming, but the government had to consult with the local manufacturers first.
That was done to give them an opportunity to retool. Some of them are having difficulties in terms of being able to convert existing equipment, and of course there's a job component as well. What we wouldn't want to do is obviously to create a situation where manufacturers and distributors have to now lay off several hundreds of people.
In the months leading up to the plastic ban, however, mixed reactions, mainly from small and medium-sized business operators.
But it's going to affect us a lot.
Our suppliers indicated that it would take about 2 to 3 months for them to create an alternative. So we are humbly requesting that the government pardon some of us.
By December 31, the government answered those calls, granting an extension to some businesses to continue using single-use plastics beyond January 1, 2019.
There are some businesses which have yet to receive their alternative packaging supplies and have small amounts in stock. We have seen evidence of their shipping arrival to become available in late January to February. Based on international trade system, to avoid breakdown and dislocation in the system, we are allowing these companies that have small stocks to use them until their supplies arrive.
In the months that followed, Jamaica said goodbye to scandal bags, and reusable bags were the order of the day. But again, disquiet as it got closer to the ban on styrofoam.
You won't find an ideal time for it, and it's badly needed, but understanding that it will have a dire consequence on probably 10,000-15,000 small food operators that will be directly affected by it. So for those reasons, we are asking for an extension of this time.
But despite those calls for an extension, the government stuck to its plan, and styrofoam products were banned, marking phase 2 of the plastics ban on January 1, 2020. Fast forward to 2021, phase 3, the announcement by a new Minister of Environment, Pernell Charles Jr.
Under phase 3, the importation, distribution, manufacture and use of commercial quantities of single-use plastic bags of dimensions not exceeding 24 by 24 and thickness of 2.5 mils, as well as drinking straws made wholly or in part of polyethylene or polypropylene manufactured for single use and attached to or forming part of packaging of juice boxes or drink pouches are banned as at January 1st, 2021.
But has the plastics ban been effective? And where do we go next? Kelisha Williams for All Angles.
And Mr. Charles joins me now on Zoom. Mr. Charles, thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure. Happy New Year.
And the same to you. All right, I know you're still relatively new in the job, but obviously this is one of the most topical and current things in your portfolio right now. We're hearing about bags being sold on the streets. We're hearing about styrofoam boxes having been replaced by plastic food boxes. So how much of a success can we really say this has been?
No, I think it has been a success. I think that the ban in all of its phases has been transformational.
And without doubt, you've seen a wide cross section of Jamaica supporting it and being involved and understanding why we're doing it towards the enhancement of this sustainable and resilient Jamaica that we need. There have been challenges, as we expect, but it is for us to be bold and to continue to encourage Jamaicans to have the understanding and to take their own individual responsibility to make decisions as consumers to support the operators who are moving towards eco-friendly operations and the use of eco-friendly packaging. The next phase for us, which has been started on January 1st, is another important phase. We intend to work with the stakeholders. So not only have we implemented the third phase of the ban, which speaks to the thicker scandal bags and bags of 2.5 mils thickness, but also now to those straws that are attached to the juice boxes. And we're giving a 6-month period, which shows that we're not just implementing and trying to enforce, but we're working with stakeholders to make sure that the alternatives which are available, we give them time to transition and retrofit their own operations, while we also ramp up our own public education campaign. We have to make sure that we move towards a space where Jamaica is a part of the solution and every individual appreciates their own responsibility.
Yeah, except though, you seem to be rather glossing over the fact that there are large sections of society that have not bought into this. So sure, as I say, if you go to supermarkets, certainly, uptown, round town supermarkets, you have to carry a box and your bag, your reusable bag, or you get a box or whatever. But there are a lot of other establishments where everybody use scandal bags same way, Minister. And as I mentioned, the styrofoam, we're seeing the styrofoam food trays for like fruits and vegetables for no apparent reason. Whole heap of the small plastic bags are around. We just seem to be seeing a very, what should I say, a disproportionate amount of breaches taking place, even while the government is saying, yeah, man, it's a success and moving ahead with these other phases. For instance, those pictures we're seeing on the screen, those plastic boxes that most people are now giving you your food in as opposed to the styrofoam box, how much of an improvement is that?
Our future as a country is going to depend on our decisions and actions now. And when I say success, I appreciate that there are several challenges, and what we have to do is, while we identify those challenges, we find ways to create solutions. And so, yes, there are spaces where we continue to see breaches. We have had about 41 companies and individuals that have been charged. I'm told there are about 27 convictions and other trials to be continued this year. And there's going to be increased enforcement using customs, NCRA, and NEPA. But the most important part of all of this will be to ensure that we have a rigorous public education and awareness campaign, so that where we see that there is still the use of the scandal bags, for instance, we get Jamaicans involved. We're speaking now about looking towards expanding the ban so that it becomes more sensible. So, for instance, the influx of plastic containers that are now being used to replace the styrofoam, that doesn't make much sense. And so we have to look towards either expanding the ban or reducing or lowering the duty so that we can have incentives for persons who seek to bring in eco-friendly products to be able to do so, even though that's in the remit of the Ministry of Finance and Public Service. These are the things that we will be encouraging as we move towards collaborative governance and bringing the entire society into this solution. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to take us some time. But as a government and as a people, we have to understand why we are doing this. the ultimate outcome is for us to reduce the plastic waste pollution. And why we're doing this is to protect our life. This is towards our environmental agenda, public health agenda, climate change agenda, and just the general social well-being of our people.
But let me go back. Let me go back to the lunch boxes, for instance. So you're saying the government is aware of the fact that these plastic boxes are being used widely, and you're not happy with it.
Of course not. And I've seen it myself. And that is why when I speak to the technical team, we have a technical working group made of multi-agency, multi-sector agencies across government. One of the things that we are looking at, of course, is taking steps to address that by looking on, introducing the national recycling program, introducing either expansion of the ban or lowering of duties, and moving towards sensible solutions. So yes, we are looking at now the ban of the plastic straws, but you ask the question, what about the PET bottles? And so we are also looking at the deposit refund scheme and moving towards a place where all of Jamaica understands why we are talking about these bans. It doesn't just become we're trying to take away food from people who are producing or manufacturing plastics, but they understand the overarching outcome.
Well, let me jump on what you just said, though, the deposit refund scheme, because for a lot of people, it's this kind of program that actually makes a real difference, that exactly. Encourages people to take out the plastic bottles, return them, get their money back, and so on. But years now, we're talking about this now, Mr. Charles. So at what point does the government actually intend to implement this?
It has been way too long, and there's no challenging that. And that is why, as a government, we are moving aggressively and trying to assert the need for this to be done, as soon as possible.
Tell me put a timeline on as soon as possible for me.
I've been here for 3 months. I've had discussions with the Recycling Partners of Jamaica as well as other operators, because one of the things that I want to do, and I'll say very quickly, is to make sure that we're not just speaking of one company, but we're incentivizing several innovators, young people, old people across Jamaica, anyone who wants to get involved in creating employment and addressing these environmental issues with solutions. As a government, we want to create a platform for that. So in my discussions with the Recycling Partners of Jamaica, I know that they're looking towards advancing their scheme in short order. But I've also had discussions with other operators and other entrepreneurs who want to get involved. And we will be rolling out this year activities that are going to encourage and empower our students. We're looking at incentives for our business and corporate sector, all with the view of creating an environment that will empower people to become more environmentally aware and move towards those solutions. So the deposit refund scheme, you should see it very soon, and not just with one company.
Very soon, meaning this calendar year?
Yes, it must be done, because, as I said to you, that's the greater issue, as I have agreed. One more thing, I'll tell you this, and it's something which I will be championing in cabinet. The government must lead on this as well. And so it is my intention to ensure that we reach out to all government agencies and ministries. And so we get some of those recycling programs in those ministries and agencies. As we speak about these issues, we must lead by example. And so the Ministry of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment and Climate Change, in all of our agencies, we will be the first to roll out for this year our own individual activities to ensure that we are representing the outcome that we seek. And we're going to be asking a lot of the other ministries to get involved. So it's not just going to be a siloed activity, but it will be what we define as collaborative governance, trying to achieve a collaborative solution.
All right, hold that thought for me. Let's go to break. You're watching All Angles. We're back. We're talking about the current phase of the plastic ban and how the whole thing has been going so far. Remember our hashtag, it's TVJ All Angles. We're back in a moment.